Welcome everybody. I'm sorry I'm doing this on the road, but this is the only time I've had for free time. So, I'd like to get to the post-trip analysis, and again, I'll be on the road. Hopefully, this doesn't turn into one of those disastrous scenes where, sorry, the radio's going off. This doesn't turn into one of those disastrous scenes where I caught the whole accident on tape by a fluke. So let's cross your fingers and make sure that doesn't happen. Anyway, let's get to it. So, first and foremost, thank you, listener or listeners, for being there. We flew out to New York via Southwest. I love Southwest because I don't have to pay extra for baggage. Seats are kind of cramped. Planes are sometimes old, but what are you going to do? These flight attendants were pretty cool this time. The last time I flew Southwest, they were angry. Like, I didn't want to look them in the eye. And so that was good. We had a layover in Dallas. That was like 3 or 4 hours. It's cool. Kids get to walk around. We get to check out a new airport, which is kind of fun, I guess. And then from there, we flew into New York, into LaGuardia. LaGuardia is under construction. Apparently, it's been under construction for some time. If you listen to people who live out there or work out there, they're like, oh, is it ever going to end? Much like construction in Albuquerque. So that was our first experience with a taxi while we were in New York. And people said, make sure you take a New York taxi cab, the yellow ones. So we said, okay. We stood at a curb for a while, got ourselves a taxi. Can't remember what the guy's name is because stereotypes exist for a reason. This guy was totally Middle Eastern, but really cool. Talked with me the whole trip. And yeah. So we stayed over at the Watson. Also, the trip from LaGuardia to the Watson hotel was about a $60 cab ride. That was to be expected. So we stayed over at the Watson. The Watson seemed to me like it was one of those old hotels that was converted from an apartment complex where you'd see, like in old movies, where there was laundry lines going in between buildings and people shouting at each other out the window and then saying, hey, say hi to your mother for me, huh? And you had to hold the toilet handle down to flush it for like a solid 8 to 10 seconds, which was kind of a bummer. We got breakfast every morning. It was a buffet style breakfast. We didn't look at the menu, just the buffet, which probably is why the breakfast wasn't phenomenal. What are you going to do? But we were really close to Central Park. We were within walking distance of Times Square, all that good stuff. Within walking distance of a subway terminal. So the location was very convenient. Unfortunately, we got there on October 2nd. They closed the rooftop pool down on October 1st. So we didn't even get to go up to the rooftop to look at lights and stuff, which was kind of lame. First night we got there about 4 o'clock. We actually got into our hotel probably about 4:30 to 5, maybe even 6, because the traffic there sucked, just like in the movies. Then we decided to unpack and get situated and go out and just start walking around. And we hit a place called Justino's Pizza, real New York style pizza. And you know what? Again, stereotypes exist for a reason. That stuff is real. You got two brothers working with each other, yelling at each other, probably, kind of talking with their hands. Hey, who's got this pizza over here, huh? Huh? And, but the pizza was great. I had some sort of buffalo chicken pizza. I don't know what it was. I just pointed at one and said, give me that. So, Mason had cheese pizza because he's super original. Michelle had deep dish in New York, not in Chicago, but she said it was amazing. Slices were huge. After that, we decided, you know what, let's walk down to Times Square. That's where I started the videos with you guys. Times Square is bright. This was a Tuesday night or a Wednesday night? I don't remember. It wasn't terribly busy, which was nice. But again, very bright, and there's people everywhere, very touristy. We were warned by some people not to stay in Times Square because it was ridiculously loud. So we didn't, which was nice. However, where we were at was kind of loud too because you heard sirens all night. Times Square, don't go to the Applebee's in Times Square. It's just dumb. Everything is twice the price, literally twice the price, because it's in Times Square, which makes little to no sense. So, hopefully Ike isn't trying to call me on the radio. That was turned all the way down. Anyway, lots of stuff to see. We just walked around. It was weird because you get there are trash bags everywhere and recycle bags everywhere. So I assumed it was just trash day the next day because there were mountains of garbage. It was kind of wacky. What else? So we hit Times Square. We also, the next day, the first day that we were there, I believe it was the first full day that we were there, we went to the 9/11 Memorial Museum. Absolutely amazing. That place was extremely moving. It is a huge, huge museum. It's like actual levels. I think there were 4 levels, but each level was probably had the ceiling space of like 2 or 3 stories. So I think it was monstrous. Very moving. I would do it again in a heartbeat. That's probably the first thing that I would go see before anything else if I ever get to go back to New York. They have the ponds there that are in place of the original towers. You go down into the lower levels, even in the main levels of the museum, and you see existing foundation from the original Twin Towers. You go through, you see actual footage that we all grew up seeing. You hear audio, you hear a lot of stories, you see timelines. Really, really amazing stuff. If you don't get choked up there, you're an absolute monster. After that, we went to the World Trade Center, which was an underground mall. Pretty cool mall. Lots of high-end shops that I know I'm not going to buy anything at. But still pretty cool. That's where we went to that food court where I had the ramen. That took forever to make. I'm a little surprised because anytime you see Asian cooking shows, when they're cooking fast. And I expected nothing different. But anyway, it was still good. There was a boiled soy egg. It was an egg boiled and, I don't know, soaking or pressure cooked in soy sauce. Man, was that thing good. But it was just half the egg. I don't think there was a yolk in there. I don't remember. That was good. After that, I think we were down there for quite a while, so the kids were kind of getting fussy. We probably ended up going back home. And I want to say we also went back out to Times Square again because that was so close. We did that on a nightly basis. One of the other days, we ended up going to Staten Island. We took the Staten Island ferry to see the Statue of Liberty from a distance, which was cool because that thing is free. And instead of spending however much money it costs for the ferry to go to Liberty Island, and Liberty Island, you could see from a distance that thing was super packed on the base level, on the level at our feet, and then you could see people hanging out of the crown. From what I understand, you actually had to wait, like put reservations in months in advance to do that. So, but you know me, super cheap all the time, unless I have to actually put money into something. So we saw Statue of Liberty from a distance, which was pretty cool. The kids were on a ferry. This thing was really big. They got a real kick out of it. Took us over to Staten Island, which I thought was super small. No, that thing is huge. All we saw over there was an outlet mall. There was a Crocs store. Crocs are stupid expensive, unreasonably expensive. Thanks a lot, America, for making something so simple as foam $40 to $50 for a pair. I don't know. So we took the ferry back after checking out Staten Island for a little while. And while we were there, or when we got back, we checked out Battery Park. And that was pretty cool. There were some street performers there. They were really pushy, really getting into people's pockets, actually sticking their hands in people's pockets. So, again, the cheap guy staying back. But their performance art was jumping over people. Woo! And shouting in unison. So after we walked around, Battery Park for a while, what did we do? We started to walk back trying to find a subway terminal, and that's when we got to walk past the Merrill Lynch Bull. Holy crap! There were like 100 to 200 to 10 million people lined up in a row to go check out this Merrill Lynch Bull. And this bull You could, you know, the picture I got was from a distance. I showed you guys. It was just the bull's butthole. But there were people taking every opportunity to take a picture with themselves underneath the bull's butthole and where the bull's balls should be. I didn't get close enough to see if there were actual bull balls there, but men, women, and children all taking advantage of posing there. So, whatevs. After that, we rode the subway again. The subway is actually really cool, very efficient. Pause.